Hey, it's your friend Rabbi Patrick here, and I just wanted to make another video about transverse myelitis. I've had a lot of people asking me questions the past couple of weeks randomly, so these are just a couple of ideas. This all is my own personal thoughts. These are not medical directives. This is not medical advice. You should speak to a doctor, but these are just a few ideas that I have that I think might be meaningful to some people in the chronic illness community, not just neurological, not just multiple sclerosis and all its variants. So first question that I've been asked lately is, sorry, the cats are going nuts and they're bouncing around, so you're going to hear all this noise and probably a cat face is going to find its way through the video. My bad. Maggie and Toes are having a big time. So first question is, what drugs do I take? So right now I'm on 3. So I take oxcarbazepine, I take Lyrica, and I take baclofen. So oxcarbazepine and baclofen are used to treat seizures. Lyrica is used for fibromyalgia. It's used for people who have spinal cord damage, which is what transverse myelitis is. It's spinal cord damage. So you find Lyrica being used. I mean, they're going to start using Lyrica to treat acne. Lyrica is like prednisone in the sense that it is the best, worst drug on the planet. I've seen YouTube videos and I've read things where people have said they've had to detox from taking Lyrica. It works great for me. I wish I didn't have to take it. It's expensive, for one thing, even if you have great insurance, and also for as good as it is, skipping a day, missing a pill, something like that, is some of the worst pain that I've ever felt in my life. So, and I've had, people shove needles in my spine, so that hopefully should mean something. That drug regimen works for me. It doesn't work for everyone else. So again, talk to your doctor. Feel free to try things. You can dial these drugs up and down until you find whatever is the closest matching thing for you. So don't be afraid to experiment, and any doctor worth his or her copay should be comfortable with you trying different things. So don't be afraid of that. Second question I've been asked is, how do I feel about Marinol or marijuana, cannabis, CBD, all of that kind of stuff. That goes into some political territory that I don't want to touch. Here's what I will say. Israel has started doing some work around this. Actually, Israel is leading the way when it comes to MS treatment, which is an interesting combination of two things. And I think that people should be free to come up with different things that work for them. Obviously, if you want to be a productive citizen, you can't be stoned out of your mind all the time. Even though a lot of people with chronic illnesses will tell you that's better than the alternative of suffering. So how do I feel about that? I feel like we should do everything that we can possible to find solutions to pain management that work for people, which goes into the next thing. How do I feel about opioids? Again, I'm speaking only about transverse myelitis. I'm not speaking about anything else. I don't think opioids work. I think that they do some fun stuff in the brain, and as far as transverse myelitis is concerned, and as far as multiple sclerosis is concerned, I think that opioids, if they work for you, they work. But I'm concerned about the fact that if we get into that cycle of using opioids, we're really just masking pain instead of dealing with pain. And here comes Maggie. I think she's about ready to enter the camera. Well, we'll see. Yep, there she is. Maggie, oh my gosh, she looks like a giant. All right, hold on a sec, sorry. Okay, there you go, Maggie. You go down there. So that's how I feel about opioids. Again, I'm not the kind of person who believes that we should restrict what patients have access to. So, but opioids, I think, if given a choice between some of the studies that have been done on CBD and other things, I would look forward to the day when CBD completely takes out Oxycontin and all of these other drugs, because I think that opioids are the great Satan. So, That's how I feel about that. How do I feel about disability? How do I feel about people with MS, disability, transverse myelitis? One of the things that I think is very fortunate is that we live in a time now where people can do gig work. If you're chronically ill, gig work is great. It is better than 10 years ago when I think our perception of work was you have a career and it's the thing you go to 9 to 5 or 5 to 9 or whatever your schedule is, and that's what you do. Now I think we're starting to come to the realization that what you do to make a living and what you do to make a life can be two different things. So I'm a big fan of people with disabilities focusing on what can be done in the freelance world, what can be done in the technology world. A lot of coding is being outsourced to Asia where it's cheaper, but there are also plenty of people here in the United States where I live and also in Europe who will work for maybe not the same lower price, but will work for a lower price and provide higher quality work. So if those of us who are in this community of needing to do gig work, which I'm fortunately in a position where I'm employed and I'm able to work full-time, but for those of us who can't do that, I think it's fantastic if you can learn skills like coding, like front-end web design, like graphic design, other things where you can have opportunities to work as your body allows you to work. And you can take jobs when you need it and when you don't. The politics of sort of, if you're on disability and you can only work so much in order to get the benefits that you need in order to have the resources to work, I mean, that just turns into a big old cycle. That's politics. That's not necessarily what this video is supposed to be about. But it's a problem, right? Because if we can help people to be more productive, that's better for the economy, it's better for people with chronic illnesses, it's better for everybody. But it seems like these days we're not interested in what's good for everybody. So a couple of other things. So how do I deal with pain other than drugs? I try to make my time when I'm in the least pain my most productive. So I used to be a night owl. Now I wake up really early in the morning. It's 11 o'clock and I've basically accomplished everything I need to do for the day. So short of someone needing something, I can kind of call it quits for right now. So things like that. So again, that goes back to the work thing. If you can find a career that allows you to work from home, or at least not go in the office very much, that can help a lot. So my most productive time is early in the morning, and then I just slide down. So later in the evenings are when I'm my least on it, the least productive. And I've sort of worked my schedule to where sort of that 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock range is when I'm able to dial it back a little bit. If I need to take a nap, I take a nap. Stuff like that. And so that helps me a lot. So that can help with pain. Rest is crucial. You have to rest. You have to sleep. If you do not, you are in worse pain. I would actually argue that what we think of when we talk about pain management with prescription drugs can often be resolved with people being allowed to work schedules where they can sleep when they need to. I know I've taken naps at 2 o'clock in the afternoon that have been more productive, healthier, worked better than some of the prescriptions that I've tried. So for whatever reason, people with TM, multiple sclerosis, NMO, we do really well if we can sleep. So I would highly encourage that. Things like, look, yoga, meditation, mindfulness, that's good for who it works for. None of that stuff worked for me. Matter of fact, yoga is actually worse for me. I did yoga with someone who it was sort of very good within the yoga world of Atlanta, and we did this sort of full body yoga of becoming aware of your body, and I felt awful. I mean, I felt terrible after the darn thing. I needed to do yoga to recover from the yoga because I felt like my whole body was being electrocuted. Afterwards, I spoke with someone about it, and they said, well, the problem is yoga is supposed to get you in touch with your body. If you are a person who's chronically ill, you don't want to be in touch with your body because your body kind of sucks. So, yeah, things like that, yoga, meditation, nice for people that it's nice for. Again, I go back to whatever works, whatever type of prescriptions, whatever types of lifestyle changes you have to make. I feel the same way about diet. When I was diagnosed originally with multiple sclerosis, everyone said, become a vegan, become paleo, gluten is causing you to have multiple sclerosis. It's all BS. All this stuff about like you have to go organic, go this, go that. No, don't believe it. That's all nonsense. I don't have multiple sclerosis, so I'm not on immunomodulators like Rebif, Aubagio, things like that. People have asked me how I feel about those drugs. When I did Rebif, and I hated it because it bruised my whole body and made me feel sick. So I did Aubagio, and then Aubagio started frying my liver. And so because I didn't necessarily believe that I had MS, I thought that it might have been something else. I actually decided not to take immunomodulators. And had I been diagnosed with MS, I probably wouldn't have taken the immunomodulators either, because they didn't work for me. There's a very famous person in the MS community who is on something like Rebif, and it works for that person, and it's great, and they sing its praises. Good for them. I would have chosen not to take the immunomodulators and actually to have taken the risk of having flare-ups and having further spinal and brain damage, because I found that there was a quality of life issue with taking the drugs. So that was my decision that I made at the time. Fortunately, that's not the issue anymore because I don't have MS. But I was willing to take that risk that I would have further flare-ups. I had been diagnosed with the lowest grade multiple sclerosis there was. So I felt like I could make that decision comfortably because there wasn't a ton of risk that I was going to have constant flare-ups and constant damage and was going to eventually be in a wheelchair and all of these other things. So for me, the risk was worth it. And I would have defended that decision today if I was still there. But that's not my diagnosis. Someone wants to ask, as a future healthcare provider, how do you think those of us in the field can improve their care of those suffering with TM? If hindsight were 20/20, how could your healthcare providers have done a better job? The unfortunate thing about the healthcare industry is that there are so many things that a person can have that it's impossible to say, well, you just need to learn more about it. There's so many hours in the day. I don't expect everyone to know everything. Here's what I will say. When I had my first flare-up, basically from my fingertips down to up to here and down to my foot stopped working. I went to the emergency room, and they asked me probably 10 times if I was on narcotics. And I said, no, I'm not. And they said, well, are you sure you did? Or did you smoke this? Did you take that? No, I didn't. But they kept pushing it. They were convinced that I was having a illicit drug, recreational drug issue. And I keep telling them, no, that's not what's going on. Just my right side of my body's not working. And I'm having all these nerve problems. And they did all these really unnecessary tests. And then at the end of the deal, they said that I had, basically they said I had a nerve that was being pinched in my arm. And I got these 2 handouts that told me about how I was supposed to do these like release exercises to like release the nerve from the muscle. And it was worthless. So a few days later, I went to my PCP, and I actually had a physician's assistant. And the physician's assistant said, okay, if you have problems with how things feel, that's your nervous system, and you need to go see a neurologist. And she got on the phone, called a neurologist. I was in the next day. So it's just basic, sorry, the cat's all over the place. So it's just basic logic, right? It's pretty much anatomy 101. I get it, the emergency room in downtown Atlanta, different world, they're focused on different things, but I just kind of felt like, don't accuse me 8 times of lying about snorting something when the reality was something else. And so that's how I felt about that. I'm going to see if there's any quick questions, and then I've got to go to a Jewish Family Services event. So my cat is driving me nuts, and I don't want her to shed on me, so I'm trying to move her. Let's see if there was anything else. I don't think anyone had any questions other than like lots of nice kudos. Yeah, just lots of nice kudos. So, so I wanted to say real quick, I will be doing a YouTube live event tomorrow, 8 p.m. It's all over my Facebook. It's all over One Shul's Facebook. It's all over Punctora's Facebook. It's in the Darshan Yeshiva student group. Like, you should know about it by now. But I'm going to be on YouTube Live. That's for my work within Darshan Yeshiva, Punctora, and One Shul. This will be a One Shul sponsored event, so we're doing some tests to see if people are interested in the YouTube Live method for doing things at One Shul. So what it is I pop online just like this on YouTube, and you ask me whatever questions are on your mind. So you can, you know, you can ask me anything. You can ask me questions about Judaism, religion. You can ask me more chronic illness stuff. You can ask me about my awesome haircut that Bila did for me yesterday. Thank you, Bila. You can ask me questions about my cats, my tattoos, whatever you'd like. So please, love to have you. Thursday, 8 p.m., Punctora's YouTube account. Again, it's all over the place. Click on it. So thank you very much. Have a great day. If you are living with a chronic condition, remember that it's one day at a time, and there are people who are with you. Take care.